Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening for this live broadcast. I'm especially um, excited to be on with a group of guys that has been making music for a very long time, and they are my favorite band. And you hear their music on our shows every night, Ezekiel's Wheel, and we have Destiny Lab with us this evening. Hey, brother, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's been far too long. How you doing,
It
brother?
has. Doing good, man. Yeah, how about yourself? You guys still uh doing the music? I know you just released a new album, and we're working with you to try to get a book of all your lyrics and all that out as well. Kind of what have you been up to? Can you hear me? I think you're froze up. Hold on, everybody. Uh-oh. All right, we did lose, um, but we'll try to get Destiny Lab back on. Hey,
All
brother, you
right.
there?
I'm back. I'm back. Sorry
Yeah,
about that. I don't know what happened.
it's all right. If you want to put it just on video, um,
Just audio,
because
you mean?
yeah, just audio, because
Okay.
we're streaming over a
All right.
broadcast anyways. Yeah, and that might prevent us. But yeah, man. So how have you guys been doing, and how's life out there in Oregon, California,
Well,
Oregon?
doing. Yeah. No, we're in Oregon. We're right on the Idaho border, close to Boise, Idaho, Oregon, Idaho border. But
Okay,
um,
right on.
yeah, we're doing as good as we can be in this day and age.
Yeah,
Crazy
right.
times we're living. But we're doing pretty good. Still making music. Just came out with our latest album back last year and in October. So yeah, man, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, well, I love all of your stuff. I've been promoting you guys for a long time and all your music. And for those that don't know and may not have ever heard about you guys, if you would give out your website and your contact and anything that you'd like to share along those lines and where people can go to find and support your work. I do believe we are also selling your albums on our website at sacredwordpublishing.com. So that should make it easy that way as well. But if you would, yeah, share your social media stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. The website is destinylab.com. And we also, have a YouTube page, YouTube/, Destiny Lab. And of course Facebook and Instagram and all those type of good spots. If you look us up, you can find us. But yeah, if you I think I misspoke earlier. Our album was actually, our last album came out in 2020, but we did come out with a new video in October of last year, so that's where I was mixing up the dates. But yeah, man, we've been making music since the mid 90s together, and started making kind of truth music, as we call it, in about 1998, and then officially formed Destiny Lab in 2004, and just as independent artists. And you were actually, praise God, one of the first people to publicly, kind of recognize us and like our music and start playing our music. You used to play Ezekiel's Wheel, all the time at the beginning of your show way back in the day, like 15 years ago. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, man, it's been a long road, man. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I played when I was actually before we were on Truth Frequency and Revolution Radio. I would play a lot of the beginnings of many of your songs. There's so many that I love, the Happy Atheist and Prodigal Son, and so many. I mean, you guys have so much good music. 2012 and um, the um, just so much good
Yeah.
music. And you guys have now like four albums out. Is that correct, or is it five?
Well, yeah, we have 4 official Destiny Lab albums, and then we have a 5th album, which is an additional 30 songs that are remixes and collaborations with other artists,
Nice.
called Concocted Collabos. So yeah, all those are at our website at destinylab.com. But yeah, just 4 official albums, and right now we've been working on a bunch of remixes lately that Genetics has been putting together. And so yeah, we're still plugging away. Got some collabos in the works with Ninja Scroll, so should be good.
Nice. Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of your journey to awakening, and because even though we've had you on before, that was many years ago, and I believe that was on the Fallen Angels TV show that was hosted on Blog Talk at that time. And so this is going to be new audience for you. And I'm sure, people are excited to get an introduction to your journey and, kind of get to know you better. Because everybody here loves your music. And, on the second break, we have a snippet of Ezekiel's Will that plays. And so everybody always asks about it because, yeah, it's the most catchy tune, and it is my favorite as well. I mean, the content about the sons of God and the giants. I mean, that is the one thing that led a lot of people down the rabbit hole when it comes to esoteric and with
Yeah.
trying to understand the Bible better and in a deeper perspective. So, um, yeah. So, if you would, can you kind of walk us through a little bit about your awakening and your journey to awakening, and even what led you guys to come together and to start the band and to do the music that you do?
Sure. Yeah, and interrupt me or whatever. Ask
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, of course. Right.
Um, but yeah, I grew up in a Christian home and kind of was always into the odd and unusual, into Bigfoot and the paranormal and, all that kind of off the wall type of stuff. And I grew up in the 80s, and time that Star Wars came out, I was about 12 years old. So I was, or actually, no, Star Wars came out in 78. I was more like 6 years old, I guess. So, but anyway, that was a very pivotal time for me. So I was really into Star Wars and sci-fi and all that kind of stuff. And so I had a big interest in kind of the off the wall paranormal stuff. And I grew up in a home as well where no one in my family, everybody was Christian, and no one in my family was a Freemason, but my mom had inherited all this Freemasonic stuff from her grandpa and great uncles. So I grew up in a home with like Freemasonic swords and kind of regalia around. So I always kind of had curiosity about these symbols and these kind of weird things. And I was also really into hip hop music. I had our pastor's son was into breakdancing and hip hop, and kind of introduced me to that. So I kind of was introduced to hip hop, kind of even from a Christian perspective. The first off, I saw it as a very acceptable thing to God because my pastor's son was doing this. So it was something that was very cool. And so I kind of clinged on to that. And
that's awesome.
And so I like just listening to music and whatnot, but I never necessarily set out to be a rapper or anything. I was more into the weird creatures and stuff. And I actually started at the age of 15, I started making latex masks and prosthetics, and wanted to be a special effects makeup artist. That was my goal. And so I started making all these, creatures and masks and stuff. And then, and one more thing happened to me at a very pivotal age of about 12 years old. My brother and I had discovered a satanic ritual site where there were several cats that had been killed and gutted. There was a cat that had been duct taped to this upside down cross that was kind of an altar with all these candles around it. And there was actual writings that they wrote out that this was some sort of, ritual, or it was saying this is the porthole to hell. It was done at this big canal thing that had this big, like a cave opening, but it was a canal porthole, a siphon tube, and people go down there, and it was close to our house. So we would drive by here every day, and we drove by and saw these dead cats, and it really freaked me out. And we called the police, and the sheriffs came out and took all the stuff, and they told us, like, oh, this is more common than you think. We found a goat's head not too long ago on the other side of this canal, and just be safe, and just know this stuff is real. So it really opened my eyes that this stuff is real. And being from a Christian perspective, and so close to our house, I was like, man, I don't like this,
Yeah.
So I always kind of had a yearning in my heart to kind of expose evil. And, but I was also into weird off the wall, creature design, masks, all this kind of stuff. So it was kind of a weird mix for, I guess, a Christian and into hip hop. So, but at the age of 18, I moved to Los Angeles to pursue my career doing a special effects makeup and all that. And one of the first, and the very first movie that I worked on was the movie called The Lawnmower Man. And I don't know if you've seen
I do.
Man.
I remember that. Yeah.
But it's all about transhumanism. It's all about using technology. And they take this guy who's a mentally challenged, and they hook him up to this virtual reality machine, and he becomes a superhuman, a god man. And it has a lot of kind of esoteric, alchemical kinds of overtones throughout the movie. And this kind of got my big interest into all that kind of off the wall stuff as well. Transhumanism, technology, in this kind of weird stuff. And during this time, I met a friend as well that we started making hip hop music together. It was a friend I went to makeup school together. We just did it for fun. And I was deep into studying all these kinds of weird off the wall things, but I was trying to do it from a Christian perspective. And at the same time, I then got sucked into kind of a prodigal son journey, as I call it, because I got into taking kind of psychedelics and going to Grateful Dead shows. And,
I went that way too. That was part of my journey.
Yeah. And kind of studying the New Age kind of philosophy and all that kind of stuff, and seeing all those kind of things. But I was still a strong Christian. And I moved from Los Angeles. I had a couple cars stolen, some bad experiences in Los Angeles, ended up moving from there up to Portland. And in Portland, I met Genetics. And that's who I currently make music with today. And we started just making music for fun, just for, would memorize raps or whatever and just do it for fun. And during this time, my brother and my dad had introduced me to Chuck Missler and Kent Hovind. This is the mid 90s. And they had cassette tapes and VHS tapes of all of their Kent Hovind's creation versus evolution debates, and then Chuck Missler's talk about the Nephilim and the fallen angels. and this connection and how it connected to, aliens and all these things. And I was huge into aliens, because I was a special effects artist. I was so big
Mm-hmm.
into aliens. I wanted them to be the good guys. And so I started
Right.
thinking, oh,
Right.
maybe they're, actually angels in disguise, and there's,
Yeah.
and I actually wanted to be abducted because I was like, if I could just see an alien, then I could recreate one that was the most realistic one. And so I had some off the wall ideas, but that was clearly, or wasn't around for too long, maybe just a couple of years. And then that kind of set the record straight by studying the fringe biblical
Right.
people that were into these things. And I had found a book, I.D. Thomas, by I.D. Thomas, called, the name slips my mind all of a sudden, but it was a book about the fallen angels and the Nephilim and how it was connected to the alien deception. And all these kinds of pieces of the puzzle started coming together. And I was, like I said, I had this yearning to expose evil. And I just felt like the evolution, the lie of evolution that was kind of propagated these new age ideas that we're all evolving to this godlike state, which also propagates the idea of aliens, that, hey, where there's water, there's life, because obviously evolution takes his place. So there must be life everywhere. So I felt like I really wanted to expose the evolution thing with music. So I started making initially songs about exposing the evolution and promoting, creationism,
Mm-hmm.
and just started doing it independently. And I wanted to get signed originally, but then I realized that the whole Christian hip hop market isn't really into talking about fringe Christian things. They want stuff that's very mainstream. So
Right.
I just started promoting things independently, going online, looking for like-minded people like yourself, and yeah, I just started putting out the music. Started doing podcasts. I do a podcast with my brother now that's called Digging for the Truth with Ark and Neo. We haven't done an episode in a while, but we're planning on starting that back up. And yeah, it's just been a real blessing to see over the last 20 years, how all this information has become much more accepted by mainstream, where, when I was first doing it, people had, thought I was nuts, especially in the Christian realm. They're like, what are you talking about? And why are you talking about all this aliens and creation evolution? It should all just be praise and worship music. And so I had my ups and downs through it all, but God has really blessed us, and we're just still plugging ahead. I've never done it for, to be famous, or I don't even like performing necessarily. I just, I just want to be a link in the chain and get this message out there. My
Uh-huh.
goal is to connect people who are the real scholars,
Right.
that actually study the stuff deep,
Right. Right.
music, hopefully create an interest. So then people say, I want to investigate this. And so
Yeah.
I've definitely turned people on to a lot of different, researchers and documentaries and things like that have hopefully helped people as well. So that's kind of the gist of the story, but there's lots of other details, but I'll keep it at that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to share that I have also given out a lot of your CDs to people, especially that have kids, teens, people
Mm-hmm.
that like and listen to a lot of hip hop, and your music has really transformed their lives and reached many of them when nothing else could. And so, for a lot of parents out there, um, they have told me to thank you guys for what you do, because you really have made an impact where it seems like nobody else could. And the music, because so many kids love music anyways, and when they actually hear Christian hip hop that is excellent and also deeply and profound with meaning, and all the different things that you guys cover, it makes them question and makes them want to examine what it is you're talking about. Um, and like I said, a lot of your music, I mean, all of your music is awesome, but
Mm.
there's some that are, just so catchy and just that people will want to listen over and over and over, and that's the way I find your music. And I have burned CDs of a lot of my favorites, and there's um, song after song after song that I just really love, and that
Awesome.
really hits home for me when I listen. And so, yeah, if you would, can you tell people the names of the albums, and also the order, just so that they'll know, and where they, uh, again, can go
Sure.
to find them and to purchase them.
Yeah, yeah. The first album we actually came out with a double album at the beginning because at first I was making all these songs, and I probably had 30 songs or so that I had made, but I was waiting to try to get signed by a Christian record label. So all my
Hmm.
time was spent sending this stuff out, giving this stuff away, or going on forums and trying to connect with other people. Um, and then I just realized this isn't. I just have to do this on my own. So I had
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
songs that I couldn't fit them all in one CD. So I came out with actually the Evolution Antidote and the Original Sin at the same time. Those were both released at the same time. And um, trying to think what year they released. I've got the CDs. Uh, Somewhere around here. But yeah, they were both released at the same time. I think it was like 2006 maybe. Uh, Genetics would know. He's in the chat. But so those two were released at the beginning, and then we came out with Naturally Selected was the third CD, and then our fourth CD is called Shift Your Paradigm. And they all kind of are geared toward a different thing a little bit. Like the Evolution Antidote has a lot of creation evolution songs, although there's overlap because, as you know, a lot of these dots connect and overlap with all these
Right.
subjects. But creation evolution, there's a lot of that on the first album, the Evolution Antidote. The Original Sin digs into just that, the concept of the original sin, and the serpent and the Garden of Eden story, and talks about how that kind of connects to the New Age, where in the occult, where the main foundation of all these different deceptions seems to always go back to "Ye shall be as gods,"
Right.
and
Right.
and so we try to connect to the dots to the "Ye shall be as gods" deception, and then Naturally Selected started getting into kind of talking about the occult kind of connection. It digs into sleep, things like sleep paralysis, and of course the whole alien and Nephilim thing, which is throughout our albums as well, and the fallen angels, and how all that is connected. And then our most recent album is more about transhumanism and kind of the end game as we see it, where all this stuff is eventually headed, is toward this technological agenda, this trans agenda that is the second Tower of Babel, so to speak. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, in your journey to studying all of this and coming to knowledge about all of this, you said that Chuck Missler and that Kent Hovind were influences on you guys, and that this was the early '90s. But I know for me, it was around like 2004, 2005, after 9/11 and all of that, which that really, sparked my research into alternative subjects. That was a big influence on my awakening to truth and shifting my paradigm, because I, you know, learned that the official story was something that could not, could not have happened in the way that we were told. And so I started looking at and examining a lot of information, like on YouTube, and YouTube at that time was a portal for truth and had a lot of alternative topics, and presented in a way that um, would, intrigue, uh, and also focus you to examine something new. And so, was it that way for you as well? I mean, how did 9/11 affect your lives, and was that something that uh, oh, well, actually, we'll pick it up on the other side. We'll be right back for a second portion of this.
Somebody should tell us right at the start of our lives that we're dying. And we might live life to the limit. Every minute of every day. Whatever you want to do it now. There are only so many tomorrows. I say to you that if you're driven by anything other than your love and your spirit, your desire to grow and expand, if you're driven by your need to please others, if you're driven by your fear, if you're driven by your past, it's time to free yourself. And the way to do it is decide. Decide consciously what you want your life to be about.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder of Truth Frequency Radio and host of Beyond the Veil. The mainstream media and establishment are running scared right now, and they've prominently featured TruthFrequencyRadio.com as number 89 on the federal government's hit list, also known as the fake news list, which is essentially a list of sites slated for censorship on Facebook, YouTube, Google, and other social media. Now is the time for you to get involved. Share your favorite TFR shows far and wide on forums and social media. Tell your friends and family about your favorite shows. If you're a business owner, get in touch with us to feature your product or service right here on TFR. And if you haven't done so already, become a TFR supporter now and get unlimited commercial-free downloads in high quality. Visit truthfrequencyradio.com/sign-up. Thank you for making TFR the leader in independent and uncensored talk radio. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
You are now tuned into the Truth Frequency.
Your protection from deception.
TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
And in those days, there were giants in the land, and the sons of the angels of God looked upon the daughters of men and found them fair, and took of them wives, and their sons became of old great men of renown. So they have been mixing with us on a genetic level since the time of Enoch and Ezekiel's will.
Here on Earth we're intrigued by the sun, moon, and stars, and imagine there's got to be planets like ours. So conceive of a face on the surface of Mars, so in need of a meaning and purpose we've lost. And indeed they believe that these might be our gods, or that maybe with time we'll do right and evolve and eventually reach what they seek and then solve all the problems of man. But they really don't know that they fall, and the works of our hands are but just filthy rags. So we travel the lands to dig up our past time elapses, and with it are much of the facts. Some imagine that gods came in alien class and react in this way that's so desperate for.
All right, and that was a portion of Ezekiel's Will by Destiny Lab. I have Archaeologic on with me. We got Genetics in the chat room, and is it your brother Neo that does works with y'all, or is it just you two that kind of run the whole show? Art. Are you there, brother? Archaeologic, can you hear me, brother? Seems he may have connection problems. Okay, I can't hear you, but he can hear me. Do you want to try disconnecting and calling back in? All right. I'm going to add him again and see if we can. Give us 1 minute, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm not. No, yeah, that was my son. We're definitely not hearing Ark. Let me. Yeah. I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, there you are, brother.
I switched microphones. It must be something with this microphone that went bad. So that's weird.
Okay. Well, at least we yeah, no worries. So good. At least we have you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hearing a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too. Just like a fuzziness. Like I don't know what that is.
What's that, son? From my mic, okay. Okay, well, I'm not hearing it now, so we'll just continue and hope that everything is good. But what I was asking, and what I was saying is that the song that you heard in the interlude right there, that was Ezekiel's Will by Destiny Lab, and we have Ark on with us right now. And so I wanted to ask you and continue. I was talking about 9/11 and your further, kind of awakening and journey to awakening. For me, it was the mid 2000s when Blog Talk, started kicking off, and everybody started producing shows, and a lot of very interesting and esoteric subject matter came up,
Yeah.
and especially with the fallen angels, the Genesis 6, all of that. Giants
Hmm.
was another big topic, and I know you guys were also exploring those subjects, and that you had even done a show back in that time. So, can you kind of walk us through that time frame, and also, from 9/11 to the other things that you became interested in, and began, writing songs and singing about?
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely that was a pivotal time because I think more and more people were waking up to the reality that there was evil and conspiracy and hidden things going on behind the scenes that we weren't aware of, and I was always I kind of tried to stay away from all the political realm of things during that time because I had just been so fed up with the political side of things that I just convinced they're all on the same side, and so I didn't listen to a lot of news or anything like that. I was just deep into either books or YouTube, and checking out all the different subject matter. Chris White was a really big influence on a lot of my early study, as well as Joe Jordan, the C4 research group, and the information that he was putting out, showing that that these entities can be rebuked in the name of Jesus,
Yes,
and
yes. How
removed.
important
And
was that?
oh yeah, I mean huge. That's concrete evidence. The missing
Right,
piece of the UFO puzzle. I did
right.
so I connected with Joe, and we did some different projects together, and I did the song "The UFO Puzzle," which uses clips from his speaking engagements that he's done. So that was a very powerful influence. And, of course, The Age of Deceit with Gon Shimura, that was an amazing documentary he put out. There's, I was also into The Age of Aquarius. I worked with a guy that came out with a documentary called Age of Aquarius, Age of Evil, that kind of talked about all those pieces of the puzzle. So yeah, it's I'm trying to think. There's so many other different things, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think the going online and being able to pick and find specific areas to study that were specific genres, it was just really a something that I just really enjoyed, and still to this day, being able to, because I'm not into mainstream stuff, so I like
Right.
digging deep into the off the wall stuff and information. And I think it's important. I think these things, when you connect all the dots and look at this information as a whole, it gives you a clear picture of what the Bible says, and how important it is and how much it can be trusted.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's 100% prophetic and accurate, and depicts those things that are coming. Um,
Yep.
uh, yeah, and speaking about that, in your studies, what do you like to do with your time? I mean, are you spending a lot of time reading scripture, or watching videos, studying, different things? I know you're doing the music and all that, and of course we've got to survive in this world, but kind of,
Sure.
give us an insight on you guys and your lives, and um,
Yeah. Well, when I was deep into studying these things, I had a business with that was successful, and it was kind of a self-sufficient business that I didn't that I was had employees that ran most of it for me, and so I had a lot of time to investigate all of this information, and then also assets to plug Destiny Lab and push along, give away a lot of music, and that was really my big thing. And then I lost my entire business and became completely pretty much broke. I had my house burnt down in
oh
2008.
no.
which is a big crash to what we were doing, and that's why we didn't come out with another album until 2012, because there was we had to completely rebuild our house. He was living in trailers, so a lot of just personal family things that we had to deal with during that time. And
wow, man.
And then I had opened an antique oddity shop, and got into making like steampunk type art and metal ray guns and off the wall things like that, which was something I kind of did on the side, besides the music. And now I do mold making and casting. I've worked for some different companies doing mold making and casting and creating statues, and working in the 3D printing realm, printing out statues, and then I build and paint them for different collectors. So
Nice.
That's what I do pretty much full time at this point, is just build statues. I made lots of contacts through this company that I was working with for a few years, and so that's a pretty fun job. It's not steady, but it's fun to be able to make art and do what you love.
Right. Yeah. So what kind of statues, and do you have like a website where people go to check that out, and if somebody's interested, they could order from you?
No, I mean, I do all kinds of different things. I mean, a lot of people send me repaint. So, if you look in the collectible statue market, there's everything you can imagine, all the Marvel characters, all the comic characters. There's a lot of monsters and creatures. I actually came out with a line of trophy heads that were like creature trophy heads, and they came with it was sort of the idea that you went from planet to planet hunting down these creatures, and they came with a story of their habitat and background, and so I came out with a line of creature heads doing that. I'm still doing masks. I recently, just a couple years ago, sculpted a mask for Distortions Unlimited. Distortions Unlimited is the largest producer of props and masks in the United States, and the guy who owns it is also a big Christian like myself, believe it or not.
So about that.
So he's a big fan of our music as well, and into the off the wall subject matter as well. So he's a guy that I've done some different projects with, and yeah, man, I'm looking into the NFT market now. So I don't know if you know much about that, but it's
yeah, I do actually.
Interesting market.
Yeah. So are you guys going to create some NFTs or put some out, or what are you involved in with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the ground. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that for people that don't know what NFTs are, they're non-fungible tokens sold on the blockchain, usually one of a kind. It's big right now in the crypto markets, and something that makes artists, gives them the ability to create iconic imagery, or even tokens and things that have utility, sometimes with gaming or with farming APY on annual percentage yield on in a crypto platform or something of that nature. But yeah, can you tell us your involvement and what you guys are trying to do? And
yeah, I'm kind of on the ground floor of it, so I'm not like an expert in it by any means, but I'm actually working with my cousin who is very, very knowledgeable in it. He actually does crypto mining. He has an entire room of basic machines. Crypto mining equipment machines. Awesome. that so he makes a lot of money doing that, and he's creating a business where we're going to be getting into creating NFTs, and we're looking into the paranormal cryptid realm. So my son is also a 3D animator, so he's made some different alien drawings, and he's working on a 3D Bigfoot bust right now. And of course, music as well can be sold as an NFT. So we're hoping that we can involve
Right. Yeah,
Destiny Lab.
absolutely.
And yeah, we've got a lot of different ideas that we're thinking about, but it's just, like I said, on the ground floor, and hopefully it'll be something big. We'll see.
Well, I could definitely see you guys blowing up in the NFT market, just even with your music, but then your interest in cryptids and because that is also a huge theme
Yep.
amongst the NFT markets. I know that there's this one group from the UK, and they do cryptid horrors and things like that, even from movies, and they sell a lot of, and they have packs where you can open them and collect their cards and farm with them and earn cryptocurrencies with them and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do in that manner, and definitely now is the time to do it, because with everything that's going on out there in the world and the whole as far as the corona deal and all that, people are staying home and not going out very much, and businesses are shifting to having to become largely home based. And
Yep.
and so yeah, that is definitely the way to do it. And if you said your cousin is already into all of that.
Yeah, he has a really successful roofing company that he's done really well with, and so he's branching off to start a whole new company in the NFT realm. So he's going big time. He's actually going to buy a building, and we're going to put together some in-house artists, and also do some 3D printing and STL files. That's another thing we're into, is the STL file market is the actual 3D files to print statues and actual 3D objects.
Oh wow, yeah, I've not heard too much about that, but I can see how 3D printing is also becoming a big thing, and that a lot of times the people that do the NFTs, the imagery that they're doing, they also will then sell a one of a kind, or the top 15 of a 1,000 images or whatever, that they'll produce the 3D statues of the particular images, and so that's big in it as well. But do you guys, are you into anything else with as far as crypto? Do you guys invest or are involved in any manner in any of that?
Well, if I had some extra money, maybe I would.
Yeah.
But no, at this point, I really don't. I know Genetics has bought a little crypto. My son has actually bought some. I think he's bought a couple NFTs and getting into the whole Ethereum realm. It's mostly my cousin who's the expert, and I'm just kind of heading up the art design and gathering the artist type of side, and he's kind of running the whole creating he's got some guys that create algorithms and do all that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I'll have more info, as we put things together and combining all this effort, because we definitely want to combine the cryptid with the Destiny Lab. It seems to be a great overlap, and I want to involve other people as well. And I'd love it for it to be a Christian-based thing. And we've got lots of different ideas of how this could also cross over into the metaverse realm, and actually doing like conferences and concerts where you put on a Destiny Lab concert where people can actually attend, watch a concert, and interact with people in the audience, or a conference where you actually have speakers there in between acts or whatever. So there's a lot of really amazing possibilities where we could use this technology that, of course, in the end is probably going to be most of it used as part of the deception. But at the same time, just like the internet,
it's a tool.
It's a tool, like
Right.
fire. It can either burn you or keep you warm. And, we got to use our tools wisely.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Even, there's a virtual, like I know there's a Digicon 7 conference going on with a bunch of crypto gaming and, people that create NFTs, and they have set up, virtual conferences. People can attend online and go, to different concerts and stuff. And so, a lot of possibilities out there. And again, the world is shifting. It's forcing people to be weary as far as going out and intermingling with others, with all that's being pushed and created and all of that. So have to certainly be careful. But anything else that you guys are working on?
No, just doing more remixes, like I was saying. I mean, the ultimate goal is to reach the lost, man. And I think we're in a time where people are searching more than ever,
Right.
with all these things unfolding around us. I think people that we're kind of the fence sitters. A lot of them are coming off the fence and actually investigating. And so I think it's a very pivotal moment in time where we need to be vessels willing to spread the gospel, willing to be able to answer those questions as believers that people are going to have, and point them in the right direction, because there's so much disinformation as well, and muddying of the waters at this point, and people that are led down the occult path or led down the New Age path, or whatever it may be. I want to partner with, or not necessarily partner, but my goal is to try to reach these people that are lost, and not only to talk with believers and Christians, but get on shows and talk with New Agers and unbelievers, or people that are into the paranormal, and present this information. Joe Jordan and myself actually recently did a interview with Sam Tripoli on the Tinfoil Hat podcast. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but he's a mainstream comedian, but he has his own podcast called the Tinfoil Hat, where he talks about paranormal and aliens and all this kind of stuff. And he has an open mind to have, believers on there and hear the Christian perspective. So it was a great opportunity to go on and share this information with a huge audience of people that in any other time would not ever maybe investigate these things. So and it was really good podcast. I got invited to go back in March, so I'm going to go back in March here and have another podcast with them. So
nice.
It's been a blessing.
Yeah, well, certainly times are weird, and I do believe that we are quickly accelerating with regard to the end times, and so we see a lot of spiritual overlap. In my opinion, certainly the occult has become a predominant thing, and almost something that kids do just for fun. They're like playing with Ouija boards at parties and going out as groups to haunted places to try to contact the dead, and so they're really open up spiritual doorways that they don't realize the repercussions of what they are involving themselves in.
Yeah. And what's so creepy is, now they're holding seances to contact aliens.
Right.
I'm not sure if you've heard of the whole CE5 contact realm with Stephen Greer and what those guys do, but they basically kind of hold like a seance type ritual type thing to bring in aliens. So, if they're not going to come to us, we're going to go to them. We're going to call them in. And so they're pretty much just admitting that they're interacting with the same entities that what a ghost may be, or maybe appear as a dead relative or whatever. I mean, these are the familiar spirits of old, the
Yeah,
incubus,
absolutely.
succubus beings that cause sleep paralysis and all these other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we know that the fallen angels, the whole ancient alien extraterrestrial, that is biblically those that rebelled against the Most High a long time ago. They've been here for a very long time, and
Yep.
they have been parading themselves as if they are the gods, and certainly that whole deception is being pushed as well. That is another one of the dominant themes of the new age, is that the extraterrestrials are our gods, they are our creators, and that they're returning to save us from ourselves. And so
Yeah.
we see that playing out. And you guys cover that a large part in your music, which is awesome, because it's helping people to recognize that as truth, and to second guess what is being pushed on the History Channel.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back, everyone, for a second.
As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased, as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com. Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world. Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for a second hour. I am your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio, and I am on with Archaeologic of Destiny Lab, and we have Genetics in the chat room on our Zen Garcia YouTube channel. If you'd like to go there to join the discussion, if you have any questions, you can certainly present them there, and my son will highlight those to me. But let's continue on, brother. We were talking about, just my personal belief that we are the fig tree generation and that we are moving, progressing through and into the end times. Where do you think we are as far as prophecy and the study of it? And do you spend a lot of your time examining those kinds of issues?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to keep my head wrapped around it. Like I said, there's lots of different opinions there. So
right.
I think some of these things are to be a mystery until they almost already unfold. It seems like if you look at a lot of prophecy, it's like, as the prophecies of Jesus, for instance, it's like, I don't think a lot of these people truly understood until actually as it was happening or after it happened that they were looking and at what the Bible was actually saying in the Old Testament and connecting those dots, saying this truly was the Son of God, And so I think it's an important topic. I get a lot of people contact me with dates. And I don't subscribe to dates and specifics of what is absolutely going to happen. I think we have to have faith that God's in control, and we can know the season, but not necessarily the exact time. And although I do feel things are moving exponentially, I think we were at a very pivotal time, and I feel actually blessed to be chosen to be living in this time, to see these things unfold and to see the fruition of the gospel being so clearly revealed and prophecy being so clearly revealed, that I just feel like how can we have excuse, at this point?
Yeah, true that. The other thing too is just the accessibility to so much information that has been largely hidden and mostly lost to time and generation, and how blessed we are to have access to so much. I mean, there are a lot of incredible manuscripts and compilations and collections of ancient manuscripts coming to light now that were, mostly hidden for Christians in the past. And so to be able to read and study that,
yeah, absolutely,
to share a lot of that. Do you have interest in looking at and examining the extra biblical texts?
Yeah, I mean, I have definitely looked into, of course, the Book of Enoch that I'm pretty familiar with, and how that connects to the fallen angels and all the details of their names and what deceptions they brought. I think these things are very important, and of course, I haven't read of course a lot of these other ones like the Book of Giants and some of these others, Jubilees and different things, but I think they're important to study. The question of whether they are, canon or not, I wonder about the Book of Enoch. I don't necessarily think that these other ones are, although I think that they are pivotal to understanding more. It's just a matter of looking for those universal aspects that overlap and agree, with the gospel message and the actual, foundation what the word says. You know, I think that's the important thing is, are they aligned with the foundation? Because I think there's a lot of, Gnostic gospels and different ideas that were, put out there. Just like now times we have many different Christian offshoots and different beliefs that don't always agree. And that's within every belief system. Same with Muslims, same with Jews. There's always been these different belief offshoots and fringe belief systems. So I think it's interesting to study, but to really be concrete about it, I don't know how I can know, and I know you and I don't necessarily agree on everything, but as far as we know that Christ is the foundation and the way, the truth, and the life, that's what's most important. We can, agree to disagree about whatever. I've got lots of friends that subscribe to the flat earth and different things like that, and I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but I think it's very worth studying, interesting to study, and we've got to investigate and to know these things. We shouldn't just bury our head in the sand and say, I know this not to be true or whatever. We have to be open-minded because man, at this point I wouldn't put anything past, you don't see a lot of this stuff coming, man, and I don't think any of us truly have it figured out. And when it all starts going down, I think we're all going to be in for some surprises.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with that. I think that, certainly none of us has it all figured out, and we are still learning. And with regard to truth, there are things coming out, seems like almost daily, that are, forcing people to reconsider all they thought and all they knew about as truth. And then the other thing with what you said, Christ as foundation for salvation, and that he is the way, the truth, the light, and the other aspects of things that people, have differences of opinion on. That's all, just dialogue and conversation. But yeah, he is the foundation. And then the other things are, perspective, and people can have opinions on, and people will, depending on what they've studied, what they've examined, what they've looked into. And, we can all have disagreements and differences of opinions. We don't have to be hostile to each other and one another, even though that sometimes is the way that others respond. It's unfortunate, but I do respect that individuals like yourself and my relationship with my good brother who's now passed on, Rob Skiba, that we shared that kind of relating as well. We honored each other's differences and shared and examined things together and come to know a lot of truth, and we're led to similar discernment on a lot of things in as far as in our relating. So are you guys working on any new albums, music right now? I know you said that you were doing a lot of collaborations, and also I know you guys said that you don't do a lot of concerts. That's one of the things that I always wish that I had a chance to watch you guys, perform a entire set, a whole show. That would be pretty awesome. But ever consider doing like a live documentary type of show or something of that nature? Because I know you got a lot of fans.
Yeah, possibly.
Love to see that.
Yeah, and we've done several live shows locally in throughout the Boise Valley, at some different youth events, skating events, over at the Boise church over there, Boise. And so, yeah, we've done several shows around the valley. It's just not something that you know, I guess it's not something I pursue as much as maybe I should. I just have never liked being the center of attention. I'm the type of guy that I'm not like a hype man. I'm more very laid back. So, and I feel like when you're doing a live show, people want to be hyped up. They want to jump around, and I want people to listen to the lyrics, So, to each their own, but, and I definitely wouldn't discount it. And we have some, actually, if you want to see some us performing live, you can actually join our Patreon. We do have a Patreon page and actually have that's the only place where you can actually watch some live footage of us performing there. And it doesn't cost much, only like $2 to join. So patreon.com/Destiny Lab, if anyone wants to check that out. I know we've got a few people here in the chat that help support that. And we're also going to be releasing some unreleased songs, some songs that ended up on the cutting room floor that we've never released. I think we have like probably 5 different songs that are, or at least snippets of songs that we never released just because they didn't get finished, or we just felt like they, I don't know, they weren't ready. And so we'll probably be releasing those on Patreon, as well as some remixes that Genetics is putting together. So
nice. That's awesome. Looking forward to hearing all that new stuff. And you said that you guys are releasing videos too, and that's on your YouTube channel, and that's under Destiny Lab as well. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. We just came out with a video in October for our song Paranormal Species. So it features myself and Genetics and his fiance and him. They have a photography business, and they did all the photography of it and the put the whole thing together, produced the whole thing, so edited it and everything. So if you go check out our Destiny Lab page under Paranormal Species, you can see Genetics and myself fighting aliens in that song. So
right on.
we used some costumes that we got through Ed Edmonds at Distortions Unlimited that I was telling you about earlier. We used some of his costumes in that, so that was pretty cool. And the YouTube thing has really been a big blessing. That's where we've made a lot of connections, because I feel like the subject matter we talk about along with video really just adds a whole nother level of kind of like bringing someone into wanting to know more, because when you see the pictures unfolding as we're talking about these things, it really kind of connect some of these dots even more. So we've had a real blessing with lots of different friends and fans over the years that have helped create videos. Aaron Moffat's in the chat right now. She actually created a video for us at one point, and or video or two actually. And Michael Myers was another guy that did lots of videos for us over the years, and just a big help and thank you to those guys, because without that, I don't think we ever would have reached as many listeners.
Well, that's great. Have you found, as far as the platform with YouTube, any kind of censorship or any harassment? Just wondering, because we've been targeted somewhat.
I think my music is definitely shadow banned, because if you look up specific songs, it won't bring them up. You have to literally almost have the address to get there.
Yeah.
And I know that our podcast has been blocked and censored. Our Digging for the Truth podcast I do with my brother, we've had episodes of those removed for so-called medical misinformation or whatever. They never tell you why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to get on different platforms, and that's one of the reasons that we haven't done a podcast here in a while, because we're wanting to have a multicast. We want to be able to broadcast it on several different platforms at the same time. So if one's erased, we'll still have it somewhere else. So that's the hope.
Yeah, exactly. Are you guys, so what other platforms are you releasing on, just so people know?
Well, I've created, channels like on Rumble and Odyssey and
Okay, right on.
BitChute and Vimeo. I mean, all the different platforms. I definitely have created platforms. I haven't put all the videos out on every one of them, but
Yeah, a mix.
I've put out several. So
Yeah, you guys are doing better than us. Yeah, I need to
it's hard to keep
learn
up
from
with,
your
man.
cue.
There's so many
Yeah, it
different
really
things.
is. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, how about, your life in these times? I know things are weird. How are things where you are out there in Oregon? I mean, you said you're close to Boise. I'm thinking that that's kind of be a little bit rural. Are you guys affected largely with what's going on in the cities, or it's kind of excluded from all that?
Yeah, no, we're in Oregon, so we have the mask mandate, but a lot of people here on the far eastern side of Oregon are more like Idahoans. So it's very conservative, very rural, and people don't wear masks unless they absolutely have to for whatever reason. But yeah, I haven't worn a mask in months, but not that I'm against it. I mean, if people to each their own and whatever, I've known more people. Seems like I know more people that are vaccinated that have had COVID than none, but maybe that's just my personal thing. I don't know. I haven't gotten it. And my wife hasn't gotten it, but everyone else in my entire my parents, my wife's parents, and all my brothers. And all my wife's brothers and family, they've all gotten it, and pretty mild cases, and I guess they've got all the they're safe now, right? The natural vaccine, so to speak.
Yeah, we gotta, when we talk about those things, we gotta kind of allude to it as the snake bite or hokey pokey, or
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because of the way that they are targeting anybody that talks about or covers that in their shows. But very very strange times. Yeah, so you guys in the programs that you were doing in the shows, you say you're going to be doing them again, you and your brother Neo, is that correct?
Yeah. We another thing that we've gotten into is old newspaper stories. So
awesome.
We've put together. We actually have a page called Old Newspaper Stories. It's a Facebook group where we've put a whole bunch of mainly it started out originally as giant stories. Which a lot of people have found these stories of giants in old papers. But then I got into researching all other kinds of subjects like the pineal gland, for instance, and found some incredible information regarding what people were doing back in like the 20s and 30s regarding the pineal gland, which is quite fascinating, that you may actually be interested in hearing about. I've found some.
Can you share?
Yeah. I've found several articles that talk about scientists back in the I think it was the 20s, 30s, that they were doing this during kind of the eugenics time of things, where not only were they manipulating people or taking pineal glands out of animals and people, but they were feeding pineal glands to animals and humans to see what type of effects these things had on animals. And do you know what the main effect was of eating ground up baby pineal glands?
No.
The main effect is you turn into a giant.
What?
And that you grow. Yeah. Yes. So there's actual photo evidence of all this where they were doing this with rabbits, chickens, rats, dogs, cats. I mean, basically what they do is take the pineal gland out of, and it would only work with baby pineal glands. So they'd take the pineal glands out of baby animals, hundreds of them. They would ground them up and dry them into a capsule form and then feed them to the animals. And these animals would grow 3 to 4 times the rate of a regular animal. And they show that the babies side by side how much larger these were.
Wow.
And they also felt that it was possibly making them smarter. So then they did other studies where they gave actually mentally challenged children ground up pineal, I'm assuming dead babies or something. I don't know where, it doesn't say where they got it, but they fed them these pineal glands, and they were supposedly getting smarter from it. And they were also doing gland extractions and putting them into people. So they take the monkey glands out of a monkey and putting them into people, not only and all types of different glands, adrenaline glands, different growth glands, and try to see if that would help people. And supposedly a lot of these things, at least they were reporting at that time, were working very well. But it didn't, at least either went underground or it ended up not working. But it's really interesting to read some of these old newspaper stories because they're very less censored. They just shared everything.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found a lot of information on was the Bohemian Grove, and how
nice.
They would have all kinds of articles, like in the San Francisco Gazette, about the Bohemian Grove and who was going to be there, what rituals and plays that they were putting on, the veneration of Pan, and all these pagan type of events that they put on there. They basically spelled it out of who would be there, who was attending. It's very revealing information.
I remember that, there was the article there in the Arizona Gazette, I believe, about the Kincaid and his discoveries in the Grand Canyon of all the Egyptian artifacts. But the Vieira brothers, they did an entire book about the articles that they found and located about giants. And I remember that there was 2 specific, one in Pennsylvania and another in Texas, I believe it was, where the skulls of these giants were actually horned, and they looked like horned devils. I mean, very intriguing. Yeah. So tell us some more.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, about some of the intriguing stuff that you discovered, and or others that have shared in the group.
Yeah. Well, I found some other really weird stories about this one was basically back in the 1800s when snuff was a big thing. People used to give away snuff to, the elite would have these snuff cans, and they would take snuff and they give it away as a gift and whatnot. Well, I found this story talking about a guy that discovered a group, like a secret group of elite men that had a snuff that would allow people to enter someone else's pineal gland, and that you would escape your body, out of body experience after taking this snuff, and that you could basically enter into someone's brain and see their vision from their eyes. And so it was sort of a out of body experience type situation. It was talked about that this drug induced, and this was back in the 1800s, and it's a pretty interesting read. There's another article I talking about theosophy, and it shows a picture of a 40-foot tall giant, and the giant has a third eye, like a cyclops. And it says, in the future, men will be giants because their pineal glands will be activated. They'll have 3 eyes and be 33 feet tall, it said, to like a wink nod to the 33rd degree,
Right. Yeah.
And this is something put out by the Theosophical movement in talking about that in the future, all men would be giants. We would evolve into these beings that would have their third eyes awakened, and that anybody who wasn't willing to evolve into this newer level would be left behind, so to speak. So these ideas have been out, for a long time.
Right. Yeah, and it seems like it was.
There's another one.
Well, I was just going to say it was more pure and less hidden back in the day. They didn't. Now everything's kind of like hidden in plain sight, but covert. A little more covert with the agenda of the New World Order and the Theosophical societies and their satanic leanings. But we'll be right back, everyone, for the final segment.
Self-motivation. You got to motivate yourself. I found out you can't change people. They can change themselves, but you can't change them. People have to change themselves. Good people are not trained, they're found. So you got to find the right people. That's the key to getting a good job done. One of the major things we learn in management, lesson 1, don't send your ducks to Eagle School. Because it won't help. I mean, I'm telling you, it won't help, no matter how good your school is. And the little eagle badge and little eagle hat, I'm telling you, it won't help. It won't help. You can tell whether your school's done any good, right, when it's over, right? The duck goes for his first rabbit and makes him a friend. You say, no, no, no. So it takes self-motivation to really alter your life. And you don't want to give self-motivation away to somebody else and make it somebody else motivating you. The guy says, boy, if somebody just come by and turn me on. What if they don't show up, right? See, you got to have a better plan for your life.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Do you have any of these symptoms? Night cramps in the hands and feet. Your arms and legs often go to sleep. On short walks, do your legs get aches and pains? Is your memory worse than it used to be? Ankles that swell late in the day? Has your blood pressure increased lately? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, you may have early warning signs of arterial blockages. Your body is saying that it is time to take Extendivite. These are not the normal signs of aging. They are the warning signs that accompany blocked arteries. Get your Extendivite today. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR Frequency Radio.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for final segment. We were talking about some interesting storylines, headlines from ancient newspapers, and I think it's very cool that you can go and you can keyword search some of these archives, and that a lot of these stories are now made available. And one of the things that a lot of people have been looking for, searching for, are giants, and the stories of how giants had been in this land, and that the Native American peoples, they speak about how there was this race of giants, the red-haired cannibal giants, and that they had lived even up until like the late 1800s and had been part of the arch nemesis of the native peoples, and that they would abduct members of their tribe, and that they would flay them, alive, even um, to inflict pain and to cannibalize them. And that was one of the reasons they went to war against them. The whole story of the Lovelock Cave in Utah, and how the Paiute Indians drove them into this one cave and then smoked them out, and they didn't come out, and ended up like 70 so of them ended up dying in there. And then years later, when some people went in to get the bat guano, they dug up like, I don't know, 10 feet of this bat guano and found 70 plus skeletons of these giants, entire families, men and women and children, and their duck decoys and the things that they had and used to hunt and everything. So very interesting stories.
With red hair.
Yeah, absolutely. Red hair. 6 fingers, 6 toes, just as the Bible explains, with the double sets of teeth, massive head and jaws, and large femurs. And the women were said to be 7 feet, and a lot of the men 8 to 10 feet tall, as far as their skeletons. And of course, a lot of that ends up disappearing. But if you would, can you share with us some more of your research and some of the other things that you discovered in looking into these annuals?
Yeah, one of the other things, this doesn't have to do with the old newspaper stories, but I'd love to run this by you and get your opinion on this. One of the other things I really dug into was the idea of this red hair, and what are they talking about there? Red hair. And so I kind of connected it back to hearing some other researchers talk about the connections of albinos and albinism. And I'm not sure if you've looked into that, because when you read some of the stories in the Bible where it talks about Noah, that his hair was as white as wool, and that they thought he was an offspring of the Nephilim, perhaps, because of this. And so it's like, well, does that mean the Nephilim had this white hair? Were they, what does this mean? And I think a lot of people hesitate to go down that road, because they think, oh, maybe this, it says that white people are the best, but albinism has nothing to do with race. There's more, there's albinos of every single race and culture out there. And as a matter of fact, what's fascinating is there's more albinos in the African culture than any other culture. And what's even stranger is, if you study albinos in African culture, that to this day, albinos are hunted by witch doctors for their body parts in such a number that albinos actually have to be kept in albino camps, literally, where everyone that lives in this entire camp, surrounded by walls, is an albino. Many of them missing hands, legs, and other appendages from being hunted down and having their appendages cut off by machetes from these witch doctors. And that supposed the bones and body parts of albinos are the most powerful of all parts for these witch doctors, these rituals, and this black magic. And there are some documentaries that go deep into this on YouTube that are not Christian. They have nothing to do with, fallen angels and Nephilim. It's just talking about this horrible tragedy that these albinos are hunted by witch doctors, and that this is such a big problem that, thousands and thousands are killed yearly, and many of them are having to be, live in these villages protected.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. No, I have never heard of that. But that is intriguing. I wonder why and what they think, as far as these albino peoples, what kind of juju they have.
Yeah, so going deeper, if you look into melanin and melatonin, and what the pineal gland supposedly extracts is what is it, melatonin or melanin? I can't remember which one it was, but one of those is the pineal gland either extracts that or has it in it, and it has the glands of the pineal gland and these other glands in your brain are integral to producing and working with melanin. And supposedly, if you look into some fringe Black African beliefs, they believe that the high melanin of Black people in their pineal gland makes them much more enlightened and can see things that no one else can see because of this high melanin. And there's some just weird ideas of how that all works. And then the pineal gland itself supposedly has liquid crystals inside of it that change shape depending on I don't know what makes them change shape, but that these changing shapes act like a liquid crystal antenna. So if you know how crystal antennas work, that's like a real thing. They used to sell back in the 60s little crystal radios, which was literally just a crystal that looked like your finger with a copper wire wrapped around it, and you would move this copper wire up and down the crystal and actually tune into radio frequencies, and that crystals carry frequency. And supposedly these liquid crystals in people's pineal glands act as a type of antenna that can be targeted into through these mind control devices, through occult ideas and rituals and demonic influences. And this is also why, if you talk to people that have sleep paralysis, many times they'll feel their pineal gland clicking or vibrating or humming or like an electric pulse inside their head, right where they're in between their eyes, behind their eyes. And same can be told with people that have DMT experiences and alien abduction experiences. All these things overlap. These entities somehow use this, the third eye, and it's a God land, which is a real thing. But there's something I think having to do with the spiritual aspect that is tapped in through that or used in that regard somehow, that I don't yet understand, and I don't know if I ever will, but it's really, really interesting to study because of all these weird overlaps.
Well, I know that, in ancient times, that the native peoples, they would use psychedelics like mushrooms or even ayahuasca now to commune with spirit and to have experiences of the divine, and to have a direct encounter to commune with the Most High God in whatever manner they could, through the drumming or sweat lodges, different things like that. And you said that you had been part of, the whole Grateful Dead experience, and that seemed to be something that was predominant in that time. And even now in this day and age, that there are doctors that are beginning to use psychotropic mushrooms to treat people with depression, and a lot of the military veterans that have post-traumatic stress, and a lot of people that have mental challenges, and it's
Yeah.
benefiting them in a very positive manner, giving
Yeah.
them spiritual experiences that are really changing their lives. And I know back in, the time that I was involved in doing these kind of things, that it really did make, and I had really positive effect, and really had experiences that opened me to understandings, almost, as far as experiences with the divine, that uh, things touched me profoundly, and some of the, because I
Yeah.
was involved in doing ceremonies and things of that nature, and like vision questing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
I think it's really interesting stuff, and to
yeah,
study all the overlaps is really, really interesting. I think, God can work in mysterious ways. God can,
right,
you know, everybody has their own journey, and God has a
right,
unique
right,
journey for every person. And
right.
but what's interesting is if you study the DMT ayahuasca realm and how profound that has gotten. What's really interesting is what when people go and see a shaman, and when they actually talk to Mother Ayahuasca or these DMT elves, or the message that they claim they're getting, a lot of times is a mimic exactly of what the gospel message brings. It says basically you need to die to yourself. You need to face your own, basically face your own demons, and but the flip side is that they tell you to embrace the darkness. So they'll tell you, they say, okay, if you see something good, like an angel and a demon, you run toward the dark one, because the
What? That's
angel,
crazy.
because they say the angel is the thing that you already know. That's what you want. That's what you must face your fears. You must go on the hero's journey. Like Luke Skywalker, you go into the cave, you fight, Darth Vader, and when the head chopped his heads off, you realize, oh, that's actually you. That's actually your head that you just chopped off. And so the idea is that you save yourself through facing your demons, jumping into the abyss, allowing the serpent to swallow you. You must go to the darkness to then reveal the light. And I found the same thing with people that get into doing Ouija board experiences and actually interacting with demonic entities. Well, they'll tell them, you must, they'll tell them to do some sort of dark thing, kill yourself, and they'll
Oh my gosh.
want to kill themselves, and they'll say, okay, stop. Okay, this was just a test. You passed the test. You're willing to, kill yourself, or you're willing to cut yourself. There's a lot of to be saved, you must die to yourself, but you must do it through your own works, or through, facing the darkness, or going to the darkness. That's what I find creepy about it all. And that's, Satan is the great counterfeiter. He takes the things of God. He doesn't
turns
create
everything
the
upside down. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a creator. He's a deceiver, a mimicker, a counterfeiter. So he takes the things of God and he creates imitations of them, disguises of them, and that's what's always so convincing. That's why I have a great love for people that are in the New Age, or these, like this Grateful Dead. I have lots of friends that are still kind of in that paradigm and in that mode of thinking, and I do have a great love for them, because I think they're good people. They have good intentions, but a lot of times they get drawn into. Yeah. And they just think, oh, Jesus, I'll accept Jesus. Yeah, I'll bring him in as well as Krishna and every other, every god and goddess out there, just to be safe, and I think so it's a fine line, and like I said, we're all on our own journey, but Christ is the way in the end.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, and that's the dangers of some of these tools, because again, they are tools. Teacher plants and psychedelics, they can be tools, but at some point people have to move on beyond that, and you can't just keep going down those particular paths, because I do think that people can be, especially when you're getting involved with darkness and, like you said, being swallowed by the serpent, or engaged in doing some of this occult stuff and accepting the darkness and this other side, and especially if you have voices in your head that are telling you to kill yourself or kill somebody else. I mean, that's pretty extreme, and you don't want to act on that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, there's a fine line, and I don't know how the therapists that are truly helping people to come out of their insanity or even their depression, how they're doing those kind of things. But I do think that done the right way with the right intent and guided in a manner that people can understand what they're getting themselves into, and especially if they are grounded in the foundation of the Most High. I think that, these kind of things can be beneficial, but certainly for people that don't know what they're doing and are just opening doorways and, engaging in things and playing like with Ouija boards, like, or that they're doing it for party mode or whatever, that could get you into trouble. And so, people have to be very careful. But so what were some other, interesting things that you discovered as far as the ancient stories? I definitely think that, a lot of the giant accounts, and because there are discoveries even today being made, and I think like ancient cities, like I read an article about how there was an underground reptilian city there in Los Angeles, and that they had to cover up and close up what was connections and tunnels to this underground city because it was still occupied. And the native people talked about how there were these reptilian beings that lived down in those particular places. But there seems to be connections with cryptids, whether all kinds of different cryptids. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff on YouTube and different paranormal channels where, people going down in tunnels and stuff, and they've encountered and just really weird things. A lot of weirdness, spiritual weirdness, overlapping and coming into this world, bleeding over. And but can you anything else you'd like to share, especially with your interest in that?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the fascinating thing, is looking for those universal overlaps and the things where different cultures or different times and languages are actually finding similar or oftentimes the exact same experiences. And those are the kinds of things that I love to study, because it's like there's got to be some sort of truth to that. These people don't just independently have the exact same experiences over and over and over and over again, unless there's actually something going on. I don't think so.
Right. Fully.
So I think it's really interesting to look at all these things, and and to look at the fact that it's not just drugs that can bring people to these points. Drumming, twirling,
music,
there's many forms. Breathing,
breathing,
practices.
Absolutely. Yoga.
It's fascinating how many doorways there are to these realms.
Right.
And
sweat lodges.
I mean, I think they're
like
all Grateful Dead concerts.
Right. The drum space. That whole thing was
drum circles.
Drum circles, all of that. I mean, there's a lot of natural ways too.
Well, you got to ask yourself, why did God create us to even have receptors to have these things have these effects on us? Why are these substances? There's a reason for everything.
Right.
And it's a matter of what things are mysteries, what things are to understand now, and what things are for the afterlife. It's hard to know, but
right.
Yeah, I sent you a link of one of the other things I found, which was talking about, it's an article that shows a picture of Moloch, and it has a statue that's his mouth wide open, and hundreds of people marching into the mouth of this statue Moloch. And it says, the food that does away with youth. Remarkable discoveries about a gland in the brain that may enable science rapidly to turn children into men, chicks into chickens, calves into cows, and sate the war's appetite for meat and men. So it goes on to explain, this is unbelievable, but it basically says, in a word, this scientific food eliminates youth, or rather hastens maturity. Food animals born within the past few weeks, and which in the ordinary course of events would not be available as food for European soldiers for many months to come, may by the application of the new discovery be made within just a few weeks. Then it says, while children who ordinarily would not be old enough to fight for their country for 10 or 15 years may perhaps be developed so expeditiously that they may take active part in the war within a year or two. So he's talking about taking 1 or 2 year old babies, grinding up pineal glands, feeding them, and to turn them into soldiers to fight in war.
That is so strange. So odd. So there's got to be, something again to this ground up pineal gland. It's just so awkward and bizarre how they got away even with doing this kind of thing, especially if it was from, if they're getting this from young babies. And I mean, because how would they get a supply? I mean, that's just bizarre. But
exactly, yeah. Well, and this is way back then. Imagine what they could be doing now. I mean, back in the 30s and 40s, they had a big supply of this, and I mean,
all the aborted fetal tissue now that's being sold, because people don't realize that, after these children are killed in this abortive process, the bodies are being sold, and the residuals are being sold off to different corporations that are including them even in flavoring for food. I mean, it's just bizarre world that we are living in this day and age.
Well, there is an article
we've only
that was
got
found
2
that
minutes.
the guy actually. Okay.
We're running out of time, right?
There's too much to talk about, man.
Yeah. There is too much to talk about. But yeah, man, we'll have to do it again, and perhaps next time we can do a YouTube live stream and actually play, clips of some of the newer music and everything. I think that would be really cool, and give people a chance to hear and to listen, maybe even some of the videos that you guys have. But if you would give out all your social contacts again, where people can go to find your work and music and support all the things that you guys are doing.
Just go to destinylab.com. You can get all 4 of our albums for $40, and there's like 70 songs, so you get a lot of music for your money. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/DestinyLab, if you want to see some of that behind the scenes and see our videos and music first before it gets released publicly. And then, of course, YouTube/DestinyLab. We've got lots and lots of good videos on there. And then our podcast is Digging for the Truth with Ark and Neo, and that's on all the major platforms if you look it up on podcasts and iTunes, or on YouTube as well.
All right. When is I know you guys are going to be doing those shows again, but any particular night and any particular time?
I think it's either going to be March 21st or the 25th. Is kind of like they haven't given me a set date, but that's when it's tentatively. And then I'm also going to be going on this next month on My Family Thinks I'm Crazy podcast, which is another, it's not a Christian podcast, but all kinds of crazy ideas to talk about. So I'll be on there as well.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining us this evening. God bless all. Good night.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.